Hey guys, what's up? It's Jano here. So today I'm going to be showing you guys exactly how I was able to make over $100,000 this month with a new clipping business model. Now, as you can see, just on the whop platform, we collected over $66,000 in the last around 33 days or so. And obviously, we don't just use whop, we use platforms like PayPal, a little bit of Stripe, and a little bit of Bankwire also with our clients. So the business model that I'm actually going to be talking about today is called drop clipping. So this business model is pretty good because nobody's really talking about it, and most of you guys probably heard what clipping is, but not necessarily drop clipping. So, what is clipping? So, a lot of you guys already know, but what clipping is basically taking someone else's content, usually a YouTuber, some sort of long form creator. It could even be a brand or something, and posting them on short form platforms. So, for example, you screen record Rogan's podcast, you put some captions, a little bit of editing, and you post it on, say, TikTok. If you know about clipping, that these platforms are taking the money and they're really cracking down on unoriginal content and really faceless pages and clipping pages. It's very hard to make money. It's like flipping a coin. If you're going to get kicked out of the program, if they're going to kick you out for unoriginality, security issue, and it's very hard. And that's why it's been a very good opportunity with whop now with clippers, because instead of waiting to get monetized and getting 10K followers, a lot of these clippers are just going to whop, joining any of these groups, and getting paid out straight from the influencer. There's a lot of big names in here, big brands that are paying out even more than TikTok and YouTube are. Now, that's great. You could definitely, as a clipper, you could definitely make around 3 to 6K a month. Even, some people in my group, I say there's a few making over 10K, very rare. I would say a lot of the good clippers that are actually working hard are going to be making around 3 to 6K a month. Now, this is great, but the guys, if you want to know on this platform that are really making the money are the guys that are managing these groups. And this is exactly how we were able to make over six figures this month by managing a few of these clients. Now, if you this is just whop's main page. As you can see, CPI is one of our clients. As you can see, powered by Clip Labs, my agency. We just launched these guys, less than 24 hours ago. So they put up around $100,000 a month, which is a pretty big budget. We have a few more clients on the main page. We have a lot of, I would say we have around 20 to 25 clients. I think we do have one of the biggest agencies out right now. Like Caleb Jordan, obviously Clip Labs logo right there. That's one of our clients. I think Little Tech is around here somewhere. I can't find it. But yeah, we have a good amount of clients. But this business model that I'm talking about and what I do is called drop clipping. So what exactly is it? So to simply put it is you'll sign a client first. So let's use Mr. Beast as an example. Your client will give you, say, $10,000 to your agency for a budget every month. What you'll do with a budget, if it's 10,000, 2,000, 5,000, 100,000, doesn't matter. You're going to give most of that budget to your clippers. They're going to get paid per views. So you're going to decide with your client, okay, let's pay clippers $1 per thousand views. Depending on the client, you decide what it is and you make sure he's happy with it. These clippers will get paid $1 per thousand views. You'll get tons of clips coming in, and all you're doing in the middle is just taking a commission. So you're taking commission out of this 10K, maybe you take 15, 20%, and you're really doing none of the work. All you're doing is just becoming the middleman. And this is really what an agency is. You're just the middleman between the client and your clippers, which are basically your employees that only get paid off performance. So how much can you actually make with drop clipping? So I would say the cap is a lot higher with drop clipping. I'm not going to say that everyone watching this is going to be making hundreds of thousands of dollars, or even what I'm saying here is 40 to 50K. I'm just saying this is a good basis that a lot of you guys could get to. It only probably takes, I would say, 5, 6 clients, pretty decent clients. So the great thing about this business model is that since that even if you start with low budgets with your clients, there's a very good chance, as long as you're doing everything right, that they're gonna not churn. They're gonna stay with you. They're gonna increase their budget. So you realistically could have one client spending $200,000 a month with you, and you take 20%. That's 40K. So there's obviously a lot higher cap with this. You can make a lot more money compared to something like clipping, but it's gonna be a real business model. So What should you do? Should you do clipping? Maybe should you do try drop clipping? Maybe you're already a clipper and you're interested in kind of scaling up to the next level. So I would only do drop clipping if you want to start a real business. This isn't, something like clipping, it's not an actual business. It's more of a side hustle. You're making videos and posting them. You're more of like a glorified freelancer. So eventually, I'm not saying you could be a solopreneur on this business model. You don't necessarily need employees right away. But eventually, if you have four, five, six, seven clients, it's going to be impossible for you guys to manage yourself, and you're going to have to get employees. Now, these employees are pretty cheap. You could, my employees, I'm not paying six-figure salaries to, usually around 500 to 1,000, and you don't need much of them. We don't have a massive team, maybe, five, six guys. So by the time you actually need employees, you won't care about paying them, which is a great thing. You'll be making enough where you don't really care. So the next point is if you're someone that doesn't want to learn how to edit and post. Now, I did come from clipping. I was a clipper before when I made my initial money. So it gives me a little bit of an advantage that I could train these clippers. I could make course videos easily off the top of my head about clipping because I've done it for so long. But you don't necessarily have to know, you don't have to be an expert in this space. At the end of the day, if you sign clients, a lot of these clippers already know what to do. It's not an extremely hard thing to do. So you don't have to learn how to edit or even post. So now the next thing is people with big goals. Of course, everyone wants to make, as much money as possible. But if I had to ask you right now, how much money would you be satisfied a month? If you're saying anything like 2K, 3K extra a month, this business model is probably not for you because these are for people that are not satisfied with that kind of money, that are willing to grind for even longer and hit those 50K months, hit those 60K months. And, less short term, maybe less short term money and actually build a business that can actually set you free. So I know that's been a little bit of yappy, but let's actually get to the important shit. How can you actually start this for yourself? How can you actually start drop clipping? So, step one, simple, find your first client. Now, there's a few methods that you could be doing this, but obviously, one of the best ways to do it is outreaching on social media. So, I could rant probably about 30 minutes on how bad people are in business in general, not just drop clipping, but outreaching on any type of client and any type of business model, how bad people are at it. I see so much people DMing me. I have a couple 100,000 followers on Instagram. People are DMing me all the time about, packages and, bonuses and helping my conversions and things like this. And they're DMing from an account. First of all, they're DMing the same copy and paste script that everyone else is doing. And second of all, their profiles look like shit. So the main thing you want to make sure is that when you're trying to get clients on social media, is that your profile looks good. Now, I'm going to pretend that I can't write with this fucking thing, but you get what I'm saying. Make sure your profile looks good. You have a profile picture, you have at least some pictures at the worst case on your profile. If they have no posts, it's going to hurt you. And the best scenario is that you try to build a personal brand, especially around the business model that you're doing. So make some clipping videos, make some things like this. This will really help you. But in the worst case scenario, at least have a profile picture, at least have some posts on your social media, and and here's a tip: buy the blue check. It's $20 a month on Twitter. It's $20 a month on Instagram. Um, Even though you could buy it now, it still makes you pop out in the DMs. Another big thing that I see people do is they'll copy and paste the same script over and over to the same influencers and maybe just change their name. The thing that you have to realize about outreaching, a lot of you guys that aren't making much money online right now, you're able to sacrifice your time for money. I'm at a point where it's like, I'd rather, make a little bit less money and save time, or spend a little bit more money and save time and automate the process a little bit more. But if you're someone that really has $0, like you're making $0 a month, why not make personalized voice messages for them? Why not make personalized videos for each person? Make a YouTube video for them. There's so much creative things. You have to think outside the box. And you might be thinking, oh, that takes so much time to make a couple minute video for each person. Listen, you have all the time in the day. I don't care if you have a job, you have school, you have all the time in the day to do this. So that's the first thing. Now there's obviously other methods than just these two, but another way you could do this is working with other agencies for split commission. So this isn't going to be the best for your first client. A lot of the times people will come up to us and give us a client since we have a bunch of clippers, and you might be able to join these communities like ours where we teach people, and work with another agency. Maybe they give you a client to start, but this is going to be pretty rare for most people. If you have zero clients and you're making $0, you're going to have to kind of get in the trenches and get to outreaching, get to cold emailing, especially social media. Twitter's a great place, Instagram's a great place, and you're really gonna have to grind out. It's definitely a volume game, but if you could personalize it, it makes a massive difference. So the next step is finding your clippers. Now, there's a lot of ways you could do this, but I would say for a lot of you guys, if you're not going to start a personal brand and make clipping content, which I would say is the best way to get a bunch of volume, is outreaching on social media for clippers. So you could just, you could search up Kai Cenat clips or any type of clips online or podcast clips online, and you'll see an endless page, an endless feed of clippers. So you'll be able to DM all of them, just tell them, hey, I got this. This is where you can probably copy and paste the same script, and by doing 100 a day, you'll have a bunch of people in your group. You don't need 80,000 people like mine. I'm telling you, 1,000 good clippers that you get is way more valuable than having 50,000 shit ones. So another way to find clippers, and obviously this isn't here, but starting a personal brand and making clipping content is going to be your best way to get volume. But these are going to be better ways to actually get quality clippers, which I think is more important. So the next way is, I guess, working with other agencies. Now, like I said for the last one, even with this, doing this at the start, it might not work. Agencies might not want to work with you, but a lot of people will come up to us. And as long as you have a decent client that's maybe putting up a decent budget, even if you come to someone like me, I sometimes take deals from people where it's like, well, okay, we'll split the commission. I post it in my group. I manage everything with my clippers. They basically do nothing and get to, get automated income every month. So this is another way too. So once you find your client, your clippers, all you're going to basically be doing is managing your group and repeating. So what I mean by managing your group is, as you can see, we have our group right here, Clip Labs, and a little bit over 81,000 members. And this is basically going to be your main hub where you post all your different clipping deals. As you see, every different partnership, we make a new WOP, a new group. You could have, we have a Discord too. And as you can see, this is our CPI, Little Tekka, and we could go all the way down, Nelk, all these guys. And this, there's a chat here. You want to make sure that you have mods in here, people helping clippers out. And yeah, and the thing about managing your group is that you could probably manage it yourself until it's too much. So your first couple clients, if you have 1,000 people in a group, you could hit them up in chat. You could work in the chat. Maybe you get one mod, but for your first few clients, you're not going to need any employees. So at the point where I'm at now, after 5-6 clients, I would say, start getting some employees. And trust me, by the time you need employees, usually they're pretty cheap. We probably have around 6-7 guys that we pay around 500 to 1,000, not much at all. So by the time you actually need to get employees, you won't even care because you'll be making enough money. So another great tip is that maybe once you signed your first client and you're managing your group, is that use your existing clients to refer you to new ones. So we do this all the time. It's pretty simple. If you have a influencer that you sign, he probably has influencer friends. And once you do good with them, you could get them to refer you to new ones. And the last very important step about managing your group is keeping your clippers happy. Now, as you can see in my group, I always have mods, responding to all these people's messages. I'm always trying to help these people out. We have lessons for all the clippers. That's why it's a little bit good to at least know about clipping to a little bit, so you could teach them. So when you have a couple hundred people in your group, it's not going to be very hard, but you want to keep them motivated because these guys work off performance. These guys are basically making money for you, for free. You're not paying them. You have a free group. So make sure that they're happy, make sure that they're motivated, make sure your clients are putting in their new campaigns, their new budgets every month fast. Don't leave clippers waiting. And sometimes, it happens, but make sure you keep your clippers happy. So the one thing that you have to realize about the internet is that everybody is running to the doors of starting their personal brands. Everybody wants to be an influencer, wants to be a streamer, wants to be a YouTuber, whatever. But they don't realize that the influencer economy is eventually going to get saturated, and it already kind of is. While nobody is standing at the door of drop clipping, most of you guys probably watching this right now has never even heard of drop clipping before. Maybe you heard of it slightly in the last few months, but everyone's become an influencer, and you could leverage the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people that need clipping, that are content creators, that have brands online. that could use this service. So much e-com stores could use this. So much, influencers, guys that sell stuff online, and everyone. You could leverage this because eventually, I'm telling you, in 2 years, the doors are going to start filling up in drop clipping. That's why I say it's your last chance. Not necessarily that you could never start this in a year from now. You can't start this in 2 years, but we're at a point where not much people know about this at all. So it's a great time to start. Now, I didn't go too in depth into this video. I'm going to make another video and go very in depth. But if you want some free sauce, you could join the free Telegram in the link in the description. We have something pretty big launching in there soon. So join the free Telegram. I'll see you guys in the next video, and peace out.